Swagatam, Sadhavaha. Put your thumb up if you can. Yeah, you can. Oh, good. Sorry about that. I should have rehearsed that before. Anyway, thanks for coming. It's always nice to see you. I hope you're well. I'm looking at a screen down there with you on. I know it looks more polite if I look here, but then I'm just looking at myself, which of course is lovely, but you're lovelier. So let's crack on, as we like to say in yoga. We like to crack on with yoga, don't we? Get it done, get it over and done with. So bring yourself over to your mat. I'm bringing you with me. There you are. Look, you can see your own selves. There you are. So, over to your mat. And we're starting by standing. I'll bring my glasses with me so I can keep an eye on you. Tadasana. That is, of course, the mountain pose. Probably with its roots in another pose, Kayotsarga. Kayotsarga is really more of an attitude, I suppose, than a posture. And it has its roots in Jainism or Jainism. Legs are together or close. Certainly the feet might not be together. If the legs come together in advance of the feet, then it would be foolhardy to then bring the feet together because you'd be overstretching the common peroneal nerve, which, by the way, is not a good thing to do. Raise your arms up, Urdhva Hasta, Tadasana. So the pose Kayotsarga, or the attitude, because you can practice Kayotsarga in what looks like Tadasana. You can practice Kayotsarga in squatting positions and also Padmasana. Those are the traditional, that is lotus. Traditional ways to practice it is from Jainism, and it's an attitude where the Jaina practitioner will stand, Kayotsarga, casting off the body. Kaya means body in this context, while concentrating on the soul or the jīva. Perhaps it's better just to keep with the Sanskrit, the jīva. So like a mountain, there's a sense of being above the clouds that might move around, you know. So that's kind of what Kayotsarga points to. It's a bit more complicated than that, but that's probably where the roots are. Take a big circle to release your arms through to your heart center. So this is Tadasana Namaskara, obviously. And it's something we breathe into. We're going to jump or step, up to you, to a Tara, a star, and just check the toes are equidistant from the front of the mat. Turn your left toes in, right foot and leg out on the ball of the foot first. Finish off the turn on the heel. Check the alignment, heel to arch alignment, and then double check, and then triple check. And then if you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, raise your arm, inhale, exhale, fold from the top of the outer thigh, fold from the hamstrings, stretching, and breathe deep. Expressive, meditative. Movement not for its own sake. Of course, in yoga, we are, in a sense, looking for stillness. Yoga citta vritti nirodha means stillness, doesn't it? You know? But stillness means Kayotsarga in a sense. That is to say, not attaching to what we call in yoga prakriti as if it was me, myself, and I in any ultimate way. In treating prakriti, nature, manifestation, phenomena like this as not ultimately mine, that is to say, no particular bits of it as mine, we're practicing bhakti, goddess worship in this case. Because you let her free, you surrender to her rather than trying to appropriate her. Right? And St. Augustine, of course, had a marvelous way of putting it when he said, if you want to know God, or we can say the goddess, or we can say the field of phenomena, then, you know, throw your cup into the ocean. Don't try and put the ocean in your cup. So the ocean, meaning the living undulations that in his tradition it was called God, but other traditions call other things. Same field is being pointed to. Inhale, come on up. It's a field of love. It's a field of liberation because prakriti is liberative because it negates clinging. Once your feet are facing forwards, back toes in, front foot and leg out, Trikonasana. Good job. And inhale, lead with that arm lifted up, and exhale. Fold over the top of the front thigh. The hamstrings get pulled. I like that feeling of the relationship between the bone, or the large bony area, I should say, of the pelvis turning, and the stretch that comes through the hamstrings, because of course we know that the hamstrings are attached to the pelvis, to the ischial-tuberosities in particular. So it's lovely sort of to feel the firmness of bone and the softness, relative softness of muscle and myofascia generally, and their relationship as the pose moves. Take some deep breaths, enjoy. Like bhakti, we've seen bhakti yogins. I mean, a good example, especially if you live in Brighton or London or somewhere like that, you would have seen Hare Krishna devotees. They're bhakti yogis, obviously. They're yogins whose practice is bhakti. They tend to be pretty joyful. They certainly look that way as they're clapping and skipping around, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, and so on. The names of God, right? In their view, there's names of God. So there is a definite element of joy. Lama Yeshe says, how could you expect to create the ultimate bliss or move to the ultimate bliss of enlightenment, Buddhahood, if you don't taste smaller blisses? Right? This is the tantric view. Okay, inhale, come on. Anyway, we could talk a lot more about that, but we might not yet. We're going to go diagonal for the next pose. So take your right foot forwards towards the front of your mat, instep of your foot parallel to the front of the mat, precisely parallel. And then the other foot, with due care, steps back. You've got this unusual diagonal angle which usurps clinging, which is why we love the goddess, because she usurps clinging, because she's a dancer. She's often in texts called a dancer, the interdependent field. So she's dancing all the time. Her robes, her silks are flowing as she moves. Her hair is moving, metaphorically, as she moves. So you can't, she's there, she's alive. You can dance with her, but you can't grasp her dance. Inhale, exhale, bend your front knee and then straighten it again. And do that a few times, tracking round a semicircle or an arc with your knee, with the intention that you're beginning to bring more and more, as it were, to the goddess. Now we can talk about that in more mundane way. We can say more and more fibers into agreement. It's just a different way of saying the same thing. More and more fibers into agreement. In other words, more and more is being given instead of held as mine or not mine. So that's grasping. That's this graha, this grasping. When you're ready, elbow down, might not be ready yet when you are, and arm up. So this is Parshva, Konasana, 3 parts to the name, Parshva, Kona, and Asana. Last part is a sort of weird semantic drift that happened with the word asana over time. Play if you find it useful. We're not moving for movement's sake. We're only moving if movement is conducing to bringing more agreement, bringing more round, throwing your cup in the ocean, as it were. Top arm can be up or up and over. So although I commonly find movement useful, it's not inherently essential, right? Or sometimes the movement is more internal. You don't see it, but someone watching you might not see it as much. But there are subtle movements going on. So that either way, it's about the effect, not about what how you get there, Okay, arm down, palm down, push, come up on the inhale. And you know what to do next. You're going to swap 1 foot back, 1 foot forwards, instep of the foot parallel to the front of the mat, and take deep breaths. Hopefully, already the poses are beginning to evoke the breath, which is like a big spoon stirring a pot to stir out the lumps. If it was porridge or like a bechamel sauce or something, is stirring out the lumps, right? That's the breath. That's the hatha part of it, the stirring, the moving. Once you've checked your feet, instep of the foot parallel to the front of the mat, back toes not turned out, but they don't have to be turned in, but they shouldn't be turned out. aware of the space between the front hip points, the inguinal ligament, which is a thickening of the abdominal tissue that can soften psychophysically, psycho-emotional, physically, respiratory. So that's, again, throwing your cup in the ocean. To release between the front hips is like giving yourself to the goddess because you're already hers, what you call you, mistakenly in a sense, because it belongs to her. Bend the knee and extend it and repeat multiple times with a clear intention to bringing more fibers into agreement. So, a consent, like the words that people use often in religion, like amen, of course, in Christian circles, so be it, or om in yoga circles, which means much the same thing, pretty much exactly the same thing. So be it, may it be so. Yes, I agree. So getting that agreement is the surrender, is the St. Augustine throwing the cup into the ocean rather than trying to put the ocean in the cup. And from that, power arises, the three powers, jnana, kriya, and icha, shakti, power. Elbow down if ready, or when ready. Arm up, you can still play if there's utility in doing so. Remember, we're not moving just for moving's sake. We're moving in ways that tune us in. So a while ago, I sort of tried to frame it in another way that might be useful and more succinct, which is using Sanskrit words, lila artha lakshana, play, purpose, which is absorption, that's the purpose of the play, signs that that purpose is manifesting, and principally the signs that absorption's happening include feeling absorbed, obviously, feeling given, feeling bliss, feeling joy, feeling power, right? Jnana Shakti is one of the powers to know. Icha Shakti is the power to want to move or think or act according to what we know. This, right? The goddess, the field. Okay, inhale, come up, use your hand on your leg. Well done, everyone. Feet, walk your feet in towards each other and have a little shake out and then shimmy out a few deep breaths. I'm going to turn sideways for this because I think it gives you a better angle. This is going to be Utkatasana with the feet apart. They should be level. You don't want your left foot further forwards than your right. You don't want your right foot turned out and your left foot in. The level angle we're looking for is ascertained by imagining you're standing on a railway track, a train track, and the track would run through the gap between your second and third toe and out through the middle of the heels. So have a look. I don't know how good your visualization is. I presume it's good. And you can imagine a little railway track. It comes through the gap between the second and third toe and out through the middle of the heel. It's a parallel line that you're standing on, as all good railway tracks need to be. Raise the arms up if you're ready. Breathe into it. Enjoy. So again, I want to re-emphasize bhoga in Sanskrit, which can mean experiencing, and it can mean enjoyment. We also have another word in Sanskrit, siddha, which means success or accomplishing something. You often hear yoga teachers saying things like, we're not trying to achieve anything in yoga. It's really quite nonsensical because the whole practice of yoga was contrived in the shramana, the striver tradition, shramana, striver. And people who become successful, as it were, in yoga often get called siddhas, those who have accomplished something, right? So what is it that we've accomplished? In a sense, of course, yoga teachers that you hear saying we're nothing to achieve, in a sense is right. Because there's nobody there, there's the ultimate realization. So who could gain any accolades? But actually what we're doing is surrendering. That's the achievement, giving ourselves through movement here and now. So I hope this conversation, monologue actually, isn't distracting, but in fact focusing us to tune in. One way to do that that's common in yoga, in tantric and hatha yoga, is to center yourself along the midline of the body. So as you're moving, perhaps you can imagine a midline. Now stay with that midline from the pelvic floor up through the crown of the head. Press your feet, raise your fingers, inhale, Exhale, bend your ankles, knees, and hips. The torso moves with the pelvis, tilting both forwards. So the top of the pelvis, the top front of the pelvis, the hip points come forwards, and the spine moves along. Balance, right? Balance. It's all about balance. It's a very nice yoga studio in Brighton, owned by a marvelous Vajrasana graduate, Effie. What a lovely woman she is, a good person. Anyway, more on Effie at another time, perhaps. Anyway, playing for the purpose of absorption, and signs of absorption being spontaneity, which is part of the power of knowing, acting, willing. Jnana, kriya, icha. Stand up, big circle, hands to heart, catch your breath. Catch a few breaths, in fact. Catch a few breaths. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Walk towards the front of your mat, but not right at the front of your mat, about the length of your foot away. And bring your feet close or together, depending on the shape and the size of your legs. So if the legs meet before the feet, well, then don't bring the feet together necessarily. Or if they meet at exactly the same time, the feet and thighs, fine. That's great. You keep the feet together. But if the thighs meet before the feet, keep the feet a little way apart. Raise the arms up. So urdhva, upwards, hasta, hands, upwards hands. Serving the goddess is an act of joy, as joyful as the Hare Krishnas with their hands in the air, circling around. Beautiful. I'm a big fan, actually, always have been. Inhale, exhale, come down. Well, I say I always have been. I've been a big fan of the Hare Krishnas since I met them in 1987 at Glastonbury Festival. More on that. Well, actually, no, I won't say any more on that. It's best you don't know what happened at Glastonbury 1987. Anyway, breathe deep, jaw soft. But I did meet the Krishnas, and that was significant. So I've got my hands flat and my legs straight, but you might have longer legs, huh? So it's ridiculous to make your back tight, dull, aching, or painful. It's not right. It's not yogic. It's not flowing. So most of us are probably best off bending the knees. You can feel flow, true flow, in the back because it will be mirrored by flow in the breath. So if your back isn't flowing, when you bring your attention to it, your breath also won't feel like it's flowing. It will feel more shallow and doubtful. So bend your knees, as is appropriate, which it normally is appropriate. This is Uttanasana, of course, one of the Uttanasanas. From here, bent knees or otherwise, we're stepping back now. And push it, so this is Adho Mukha Svanasana. Pad your paws into intimacy with the mat. If that makes sense, pad your paws into intimacy. Intimacy is a very important focal point for a yogin. Intimacy is where the yogin is crossing over this sort of boundary of giving. We're beginning to cross over into the giving. So we can call that intimacy. And what intimacy leads us into is the goddess, the dancing goddess. But you have to surrender the sense that particular things within the goddess are yours and particular things within the goddess are not yours, right? Right? For you to know the interdependent field, it's essential that there's shraddha, trust, and giving. So shraddha, virya, smriti, samadhi, prajna, purvaka, itarisham is from Patanjali. And he starts with shraddha. These are different ways. Itarisham, the others, itarisham, put in front of themselves, purvaka. Shraddha, it's a yogic approach, is what he's saying. Shraddha, smriti, recollection, mindfulness, probably referring to Buddhists there. And so on. Virya, energy. Okay, come down. Sit in any way that's comfortable, probably with for many of us, with a block between the heels and buttocks, because of course we don't want our knees to be tight. We can rest our hands one atop the other If there's no way to be comfortable, even using blocks or blankets between the heels and buttocks, then you can select a different pose as long as you can sit upright. That's what we're really interested in. One hand on top of the other, subtle movement might happen. It's not, if you're thinking about movement or you're trying to remember what to do, then you'll always go to doubt, or one goes to sort of partisan, club-based, cult-based, like we believe this, and grasping on like that. But of course, real understanding is beyond doubt. The third of the obstacles listed by Patanjali. It's beyond doubt. Because there's direct knowing. So direct knowing of what? Of this. It's not the future, it's not the past, it's this. That's what the goddess is. The goddess is this. We sometimes call it the goddess, we sometimes call it the interdependent field, you could call it God, you could call it the ocean, you could call it the wave, you could call it Prakriti, which means pra is forth, and the krita part is creation, it's cognate with creation. So to create forth everything. Okay, let's come forwards onto our forearms, gang. And as you've heard me say before, probably, as if you're holding bunches of flowers. I don't know what flowers are. I've got gladioli behind me. I'm not going to hold them, but there they are. Step your legs back. Hover the body and play. Hover the body and play. So this is a sort of hybrid between Kumbhakasana and Chaturanga Dandasana. And it's a very good way to approach Chaturanga Dandasana. Of course, danda means staff. So in Chaturanga Dandasana, a sort of minimal expectation is that the body is sort of straight, not rigid, but straight, like a stick, like a staff. We're just breathing into that, and of course, balancing the pose, perhaps by moving left, right, and so on. Okay, knees forwards, and we're going to stretch out our legs in front of us for Dandasana. So that was sort of pointing in a way as to a hybrid between Chaturanga Dandasana and Kumbhakasana, and this is Dandasana itself directly. Some of you know that sitting on a block, such as the one I've got here, I put that one there for the cat, but he's gone to sleep over the other part of the kitchen now because it's raining. It's a good excuse for him to go to sleep. But you can sit on a block. If you've got two, you put them short end to short end so that they really accommodate your bum and there's a bit of room for your hand to the side as well. How do you know if you're sitting? You should sit on a block, draw the buttock flesh out and back, lean forwards towards the opposite side as you do so, feel where you're landing as you're landing, and having taken a few adjustments like that, attempting to sit up with a light lumbar, hands by the hips. If either you know the lumbar's not lifting or you're not sure, that's when you take a block, right, to sit on. And I have to say that really about 90% of people in the class are much better off, yogically speaking, energetically speaking, sitting on a block, right? Either way, if you're choosing to sit on a block, adjust the buttock flesh again. If you're sitting up with or without a block, look for lightness in the lumbar, right? Lightness in the lumbar. Well, maybe the cat is going to come over. I'll put his block back in case. Okay. So moving around left and right, forwards, backward, looking for lightness in the lumbar is a beautiful meditation. It's beyond thinking because it's like dancing with the goddess, isn't it? Which is not a concept or something we believe in, like some abstracted deity, but simply a very good description of what the goddess or what the field actually is and how to relate to it, both smooshed together in a single term, goddess, because goddess gives us a sense of trust, sense of surrender, a sense of a sort of mother figure, martyr in Sanskrit, a sense of a savioress like Tara, who, as soon as you give to her, she just takes all your troubles away. Right? Immediately. Because troubles are normally to do with attaching to parts of Prakriti as if they're you, as opposed to other parts that are not. So much to say about Dandasana, top of the thigh bones dropping, drop lift. So drop lift is thigh bones drop, no pushing, just drop. And that's related to the spine going up. It's immediate, boom, drop lifting, boom. It's nothing, no grasping, no waiting, no trying, just boom, right? Bones drop, spine goes up, boom. Boom, by the way, is one of the seed syllables for Shiva. Okay, come out nice and easy. Well done, everyone. If you're on a block, come off the block. If your back is a little tight, use blocks long side to long side. It's quite common to get this wrong and put them short end to short end. That's a no. It's long side to long side in front of you, perhaps with a little gap between the blocks. I've only got one here. I could get another, but you understand what I mean, right? One, another one next to it. I haven't got one here, but another one next to it. That's good for anyone with a tight lower back, or just anyone, you know. I haven't got one, but so I'll do it without. If you're using blocks, your feet should be on the blocks, your bum is on the floor. Either way, blocks or not, the buttocks tuck under. That is to say, towards the legs, you come down to your elbows and you tuck under again, right? You tuck under again. And eventually you lay yourself down, stretch your arms straight up to the ceiling, and lift each arm to lift each shoulder blade. We mustn't confuse shoulder blades for shoulders. Anyone who's a yoga teacher, always remember to be clear which you're talking about. Shoulders are one thing, shoulder blades are another thing. And as we lift each shoulder blade, we take the arms further over, feeling that by moving the arms, we move the shoulder blades and we give much more space and ease to the joints. We're hydrating the myofascia. We're melting some of the fascia too. We're bringing warmth through movement, which also helps to increase mobility. And we're realigning and usurping patterns. So all this, not just through movement, but that's the intention of movement. So I could, myself, I find it useful to move my arms until it's not, you know, I don't limit myself by saying I'm going to keep moving them or that I'll move them to a certain point. I just move them while it feels good. And I'll keep them still if that feels good. And I'll move them again if I want to, you know. Feeling good means flow here in yoga. Take deep breaths. Keep your eyes soft. Keep your brain soft. Keep your throat soft. Keep your neck soft. And of course, give. Throw the cup into the ocean. The ocean is not a mental abstraction. It's this. You know, this. There's nothing that's not the ocean. Right? Thoughts are the ocean. Memories are the ocean. Emotions are the ocean. Parts of the body, sensations in the body. The wind moving against your cheek. Leaves being blown off trees. Rain falling from the sky. Right? Fire, earth, water, air, all of it is the goddess. And so many traditions in so many ways try to point this out with various kinds of language used. Change the cross of your legs and take a deep breath. I like to adjust my arms again. Once I've changed the cross of my legs, it's another opportunity to bring everything together. So it's kind of like a sort of altar, you know, like the Greeks used to have for their gods and goddesses. They have an altar. And on that altar, they put everything that they want to offer, right? So in other words, everything is brought to one point, to one place. We do a similar thing We bring everything together to this one place, into what we call agreement. And from there, it naturally, it's easily given to the goddess. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to give if you've got things scattered around. So take deep breaths, jaw soft, eyes soft. And it's beautiful, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. Because as soon as you give, you feel lifted, you feel lighter. Because that's what the goddess does, it is all hers. We only feel burdened because we imagine some of it's mine, right? Just bits of it. It would be fine if we thought it's all mine, everything's me, right? So your hunger is my hunger, right? Your happiness is my happiness. Your sadness is my sadness, and anyone else's. That would work. But if it's particular, if it's like, well, the happiness only of my tribe is my happiness, but no other tribes, that wouldn't work. It's everything or it's nothing. Okay, bring your legs back together. Feet on the floor or the blocks, probably. Arms come up towards the ceiling and raise a leg up, okay? Let the leg come towards your hands, and perhaps you can touch the shin or the knee. Breathe into it. Then bring your hands behind your thigh, interlacing the fingers. And here's what I think is a magical experience, and that is pressing the hands into the thigh and the thigh into the hands, whilst free, spontaneous breathing. So there are 3 ingredients, and like with any recipe, if you take out one of the key ingredients, the recipe won't work. So hands into the thigh, thigh into the hands, and free breathing. And what is the recipe creating? Well, at first it brings energy into the top of the shin, into the kneecap. Then the yogin or yogini draws that energy, drags that energy, combs that energy, brushes that energy through the leg, from the shin, through the knee, through the thigh, towards the pelvis repeatedly. Again and again, the yogin combs, brushes, strokes, draws that energy as it arises. And at no point does she let her breath become shallow. She stays natural. She stays expressive. She stays in a state of surrender, which is beautiful. Let yourself be beautiful. Oh, I think that's Frankie Goes to Hollywood song line. But anyway, it's a good line. Let yourself be beautiful. Okay, bring that leg down. Perhaps some of you are singing that song now. It's The Power of Love by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Let yourself be beautiful. Quite right too. Similar to before, we touch the shin with the other on the other leg and breathe into that, and then reach round, interlace, get those 3 ingredients together and prioritize them equally. A lack of one will mean that what we're looking to manifest won't manifest. What we're looking to see and to feel powerfully is an experience of what Buddhists call anatta or anātman in Sanskrit. Anatta is Pali. A vernacular, you could say. And we want to see that through this energy arriving in the form of tingling or heat or just sensation or just awareness as the thigh presses into the hands, as the hands press into the thigh, as the yogin breathes. And then you feel that energy arriving on the part of the shin bone, the tibia. In fact, it's called the tibial tuberosity, where it arrives, a prominence of bone. Anatomically, it's where the tendon from the quadriceps, after it's bedded around the kneecap, that it attaches there to the tibial tuberosity. And so you comb, you draw, you rake, you stroke. These are just different ways of drawing this energy. Imagining you're just drawing this energy repeatedly from the knee, through the thigh, and then more arrives. You just keep combing it up. The selflessness is the magical moment where the heel powerfully and spontaneously releases upwardly. There's nobody doing it. Huh? Because as a sort of realization happened to me in a yoga class the other day that made me smile and smile. Just these words popped up into my head. There are no persons. Huh? And I was just flooded with bliss and joy. Right? Because it's, there's just this, right? It's beyond personage. Okay, well done. Good job. Bring that leg down. What a wonderful pose that is. Roll over onto your side. And we're going to position ourselves ready for Bharadvajasana. So you'll need a block. So I'm just going to fetch one because I've given mine to the cat, as you can probably see. He loves sitting on that block, staring out of the window. It's one of the things he likes to do most. So that's what he's doing now. And we're going to sit on a block, as I say, for Bharadvajasana. Now, if Bharadvajasana for any reason is difficult for you, then please feel free to do the pose on a chair, whereas you sit side saddle on a chair with the chair back, like this to the side of you, your legs just sat, like normal chair seated position. Either way, or you can take your legs over to one side, this other version of Bharadvajasana sitting on the floor, your top leg, lower shin goes into the arch, which I'm slapping probably too loudly, of your other foot, lifting and shifting the pelvis purposefully to feel what you're doing as you're doing it, to feel what you're doing as you're doing it. And that feeling should have a tuning in effect, right? Like tuning in, like an old-fashioned radio. Breathe, enjoy. Place the same hand as the back leg where your feet are onto the top of the thigh, your thumb following the crease that runs from the inner thigh to the outer hip, and press out and down and release, and press out and down again and release, and just do that several times, again, looking for, tuning in on particular placement, a particular timing, a particular level of pressure, that when you hit on that area, it feels like there's a release, that both releases the thigh bone down and releases the body up. You can keep pressing as long as you like. We're going to turn and breathe easy. So we're turning away from our feet if you've got this seated position. Of course, if you're in a chair, you're turning towards the chair back. In the chair, you're pushing with one hand, pulling with the other. Okay, as you turn. Now, with this version, you can, if you like, take your backhand and reach round for your arm bone, your lower part of the arm bone. And breathe deep. The yogini is in love, in the present, with the goddess. There's a saying in the Tantra, only God can worship God. Only a goddess, or only the goddess can worship the goddess. So this is the throwing the cup into the ocean thing, So that's not a thought. Thinking takes us to polarity. That's his job. But polarity has no resolve. It just keeps ever dividing into polarized divisions. Breathing deep and honest. Another thing you could do is slide your hand or your arm through your hand, bringing your hand to the inside of your thigh. And some people even like to bring the hand right round. But Your other hand, the one that's holding, will go up in that instance, if that is what we do, towards the bicep. Breathing is expressive. The yogini is in love. She's having a great evening, right? Because she's in love, right? She's enjoying the richness of the moment. Deep, honest, expressive, natural, trusting. Okay, well, return to center. Beautiful pose. Stretch your legs out if you're doing the version where you're sitting on the floor. By the way, you can sit on more than one block, but if you do, you're going to need another block behind you for your hand. Legs over to the other side. Similarly, well, really exactly the same. The lower shin of the top leg goes into the foot arch of the bottom leg, sort of making a kind of cross. And then lift and shift your buttocks and purposefully do so you feel the manipulation and movement of various tissues, bringing them out of scatteredness, because the body is often being controlled by many different patterns that cause it disunity. So you bring it together, right? Through movement. That's the tuning in. That's the old-fashioned radio. Take your hand onto your thigh. Feel that line from the top of the inner thigh to the top of the outer thigh, from the lesser trochanter to the greater trochanter. And press and release and press and release. Tuning in. So I'm pressing and then releasing, pressing and then releasing. For the right place. I won't know by thinking, is this the right place? I don't know. Jim, is this the right place? You know, that's not how you're going to get to know. Just like you don't know how to dance, you don't know how to hug, you don't know how to kiss, you don't know how to really cook beautifully, or be with nature. By thinking, you know by letting go. Inhale, lift and turn. In my case, towards Ralph there, who's looking out the window pensively. Not really pensively, reflectively. Only Ralph. Breathing easy, jaw soft. Breathing easy, jaw soft. You got camera shy then. Again, there's the option to bring your hand that's on the floor round and reach round for the arm, for the lower part of the arm bone, just above the bones in the hands, the carpal bones. Breathing without grasping. Jaw passive, eyes passive, brain passive, throat passive. Jaw soft. Again, there's the option to slide the hand through the other hand. So the arm slides through the other hand to the inner thigh, or holding further up, the arm can come round to the outside of the leg. Often you see the pose like this in modern postural yoga, classical modern postural yoga books, like the Light on Yoga, for example. And, when I first got that book, I was young, 21. And maybe I was 20 or 21. And I thought those poses I saw in the book, some of them looked ridiculous and impossible, but those were the only way. That's the way you practice yoga. And I was shocked when I saw in a yoga magazine one time, someone with their palm not facing out, but facing in. It was actually Rodney Yee in an advert for soya milk, to be honest. That's what it. But then, you start loosening up as you get older. And you realize that actually the poses aren't the yoga, but the poses should be in service of the crossing over into the field, which births the three powers. Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Icha Shakti. Jnana Shakti is knowing. Jnana. In Telugu, it's pronounced Jnana. In Sanskrit, Jnana. Okay, release, return, take breaths. From there, we're going to put our block to one side or come off the chair, everyone on the chair. We're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, but with our hands. Let me come closer to you, if you don't mind. Our hands are going to be like that. Voila, ici. Look here. So I hope it's correct French. Oh, Celine will let me know if not. So the hands are like a beautiful sunrise. That's what you want to make your hands like, a beautiful sunrise. So spread them and place them. And of course, the carpal bones, 7 bones, plus 1 floating bone, so 8, but the carpal bones are 7. In the front of the hand, make a sort of like a little bridge. And because there are 7 bones, there are lots of ligaments. That's how they're tied together, isn't it? Bones by ligaments. So moving, you can feel and adjust and readjust and align. It makes a beautiful way of bringing things together, pulling them out of this vikshepas, as Patanjali puts it when he's describing the obstacles. They all culminate with vikshepas or chitta vikshepas specifically. Now, when you're ready, feet wide, and lift up into your Adho Mukha Svanasana, down face dog. In an earlier yoga text, which might have been the text that inspired Krishnamacharya, the Hatha Vyasa Padati. The pose is known not as dog, but as elephant, Gajasana. Anyway, whether it's elephant or dog, we're playing. Some people like to bend and extend the knees. I'm not against that. Personally, I don't like to do that. It doesn't suit me, but I'm pretty sure that it does suit some people in terms of loosening things up to get energy through. It's not just randomly loosening. We don't want to just be sort of slack, you know. We're loosening up to tune in, to focus, dharana, focus. Okay, well done. Slow and easy, slow, slow, slow. Come down slow. Well done, everyone. Good job. And then turn your hands the right way around and stay for a moment, realigning, trusting, breathing. So again, subtle movement might come. Subtle movement might come. Bring yourself down to your forearms as if you're holding bunches of flowers. The arms are shoulder width apart. The hands are the same, the elbows are the same, shoulder width, and your hands are as if you're holding bunches of flowers, so you're on your ulnar bone. Perhaps you're moving to tune in, The Lama Yeshe, who I'm a massive fan of, he's not alive anymore, but Lama Yeshe, it was to always say, clean, clear. Everything should be clean, clear, right? Like the mind is to clean, clear. So that clearness, that cleanness is a tuning in, like a radio station that doesn't have any interference. That's what you're using movement for. Like a radio station that has less and less interference as you refine your movements. The radio station you're tuning into becomes clearer, and other stations interfere less and less until it's just the signal. Now, lift up your derrière, another French word for bottom, and keep your head off the floor if you can. Keep calm, it's important. And press lightly down into the forearms and open up the armpits, right? That means imagine and feel that the armpit is divided. Let's just start with one division across the armpit. In this context, a lower part and an upper part. The upper part being closer to your legs. The upper part extends towards the legs, opens meditatively towards the legs. Well done. Okay, that's enough probably. Come down nice and easy. Lay on your back. Lay on your back. I know people get quite happy when I say that. Lay on your back. So lay on your back. It's not corpse pose yet though, I don't think. Anyway, I don't want it to be. Let me just check the clock. I'm pretty sure it's not. No, it's not. We've got ages, thank God. So laying on your back, hands underneath your head, fingers interlaced. Breathing through your nose. Just a quick check-in with you. Legs bent, soles of the feet on the floor. Great. Looking great. I think you're quite relaxed. Look a bit too relaxed, some of you. What's happened to you? Good. Okay. Feel the medial scapula without any sense of what I'm supposed to be doing or getting or abstaining from or achieving or becoming. Just feel the medial scapula, right? The inner edge of the shoulder blades. Just as they are, without any need to embellish, to add anything, without any need to take anything away. It's just the inner edge of the shoulder blades. So this is how the yogin practices santosha, contentment. Flex up your hips, lift up your feet, lower back, intimate with the floor, kind of caresses the floor. Lift up your head. Now, some people prefer the hands on the back of the skull, others on the top of the skull, some on the nape of the neck, and some like to move between those points. It's obviously important that your neck has no tension, so move in any way that's appropriate to that goal. No tension. When ready, and before we come into this, I just want to say that this will strongly load the belly, so keep the lower back close to the floor, extend a leg out. Keep the lower back intimate with the floor. It's still a meditation, so breathing into it. Retract that leg, extend the other. Still a meditation. That means we're still surrendering to the goddess. Retract that leg. One more time each leg. Let me remind us that we can move our hands if it's more conducive position you can go to. And last side. So retract, last one, extend the other. And that's still an opportunity to dance with the goddess, as it were. Flex that back, head down, feet down. Everyone takes a deep breath in with a sigh-like exhale. Let it happen. Give, surrender, let go. Let it happen. Jaw soft, it's lovely. Forehead soft. Giving to the breath. Giving to the breath. And we stay in this giving experience as we bring our heels towards the buttocks. Hands are going to remain under the head. The tummy is toned in a wave, so it draws in towards the floor and up. So it kind of takes on a wave-like quality. The wave, the urumi, is a metaphor for the goddess as well, or the ultimate reality. Not all traditions use the term goddess, of course. It's particular to the shakta traditions. But other, like the Krishnas don't use the term the goddess, they use the term Krishna instead. Now lift up the pelvis and move left, right, up, down, shake, bounce, tilt the pelvis. Limbering up the lumbar, so bringing some hydration to the lower back, but also finding the pelvic floor. Limbering up the lumbar, finding the pelvic floor. And as a third goal, as part of the other two, limbering up the lumbar, finding the pelvic floor, avoiding squeezing the buttocks together. The buttocks are definitely toned. They definitely are. It's not about toning them less. It's just about not toning them in a certain way. There are certain particular fibers of the gluteus maximus that serve to externally rotate the legs. They kick in as you squeeze the buttocks together. We don't want to externally rotate the legs here, however, because it will shorten the lower back. So tone the buttocks, find the pelvic floor, find the central channel, and play. Okay, float down nice and easy. Just float down nice and easy. Landing and breathing deep. I'd love it if you were taking expressive, totally relaxed, sigh-like, given, surrendered breaths. Walk your feet a little further from your bum, but keep your knees bent. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft. Lift up your head and look towards your navel center, your nabha chakra. And breathe easy. Okay. Head comes back down, nice and easy. Catch a deep breath. In and of course out as well. Release your hands from behind your head and roll over, right over, in fact, onto your tummy. Okay, so roll over onto your tummy and lay as comfortably as you can there. Taking a few breaths. Good job. Come up onto your elbows, forearms and wrists. Stretch your tummy. So by creating traction with the mat, against the mat, pulling the mat as it were towards you, you can pull your belly away from the pelvis. You can stretch it. That's one aspect of the stretch. The other aspect is to stretch the legs back, to stretch the psoas from the top of the inner thigh through into the deep belly. And between these two stretches, forwards towards the head of the tummy, backwards from the groins towards the feet and the legs, we can create extension and space, particularly in the psoas. One leg at a time or both together, up to you. We take the legs. If you can get the shins, that's what we'd go for. You can stretch out your psoas, stretch out the inner groin intuitively by stretching forwards and or back. And then there's the option to raise the legs up, but it is an option. The knees should be kept soft. So that's a psychophysical instruction. Chest is lifted, shoulder blades are deep into the back ribs. As the back body moves forward, the front body moves up in direct relationship to each other. As the back body moves forwards, the front body moves up. Well done, everyone. Come down slow. Good. One hand on top of the other. Rest your head. This is Makrasana. I hope you're taking deep breaths. I hope your exhales are expressive. So trust is right at the center of yoga practice. Shraddha. Trust. I know of no yoga tradition that doesn't emphasize trust. Whether it be Buddhism, whether it be Jainism, whether it be the Vaiṣṇava tradition or its offshoots such as the Krishna tradition, whether it be the Shakta tradition or non-jewel Saiva Kashmiri tradition. Okay, roll over. Hope we can. How you doing now? Roll over. Bend the leg you're laying on. Shayana Marichyasana. Bend the leg you're laying on. 90 degrees between the calf and the thigh. 90 degrees between the thigh and the tummy. Extend the inner groin. So how you move, it doesn't matter as long as it's effective. Maybe the leg lifts. Usually I find I get some extension in the inner groin when I lift and or take the leg back. So, but I'm not thinking about the action. I'm thinking about what I want, which is space there in the inner groin. Again, the insertion of the psoas. And eventually, with that space in toe, the foot will come down. Okay. But it may need to reiterate that space, that stretch, by lifting again and landing again. It may need to. The thumb sucks in. The yogini pushes, lifts and turns. Go ahead. Elbows, forearms and wrists on the floor. Deep breath, playing, massaging the thoracolumbar fascia. It's a fancy term, isn't it, for the thoracic ribcage region, lumbar beneath that and above the pelvis. The fascia, the tissue that serves for muscles like the latissimus dorsi to connect through to the spine.
vaya. It's also a support for the integrity of the body, the tensegrity of the body. Top leg on top of the bottom leg, curl up easy, nice and easy from the side. And obviously we're going to go back and do the same thing. So just swapping your feet, bending the leg you're laying on, lift that inner groin, make some space. Tangize. I think I've made that word up, tangize, but I like it. I'm going to keep saying it. Tangize the space. Make it tangible, experiential. So tangize it, make it, come alive, right? The openness of the groin. And again, the foot will land, but it may benefit from reiterations, lifting, feeling for that space again. If you're ready, tummy in, forwards, lift, turn. Elbows, forearms, wrists. Honest breath, right? Honest breath. Playful. The purpose of the play is, as always, to disappear. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft. Disappearing. Sucking in, lifting up, turning, sucking in, lifting up or lifting forwards, turning. Top leg on top of the bottom leg, curl up from the side. We're going to sit in our final posture, which might be Siddhasana, right? But it can be a different posture. We are running a tiny bit late. The class officially finished 2 minutes ago, but I won't keep you very much longer, about another minute. Obviously, for Shavasana, you'll be able to lay as long as you like. But we're just going to sit in any position, can be on a chair, can be in Siddhasana. You can put socks in the back of the knees. Sometimes that helps if they're small socks folded neatly, soft as well, right? That sometimes helps. You don't want to put a big sock in there because that will cut off your circulation. We just want it the same size as the little space in the back of the knee, the popliteal fossa. Tara, of course, is the goddess that's very much associated with crossing people over the ocean of samsara, as it were. In other words, from grasping Prakriti as, bits of Prakriti as myself, to the direct and beautiful experience as the goddess as something, a field, right? A field of beautiful interconnectedness that never stops, has no beginning and no end, according to the text and according to experience. It's just dancing. It's a beautiful, mesmerizing, magical dance. But there's nothing in there that you can particularize and grasp for myself. So this is what Tara does. She crosses us over through goddess worship. She is, of course, in a sense, a goddess. She's a bodhisattva. So I happen to be wearing the Tara yantra on my t-shirt today. So we'll chant to Tara by bringing the hands to the heart. We'll do the more frequently practiced green Tara. The green Tara mantra is actually for all Taras, all 21. But it's a little easier to remember than some of the others. So I'll do it once and then you join me for 3. Remembering the intention is for the benefit of all beings, to cross all beings over into the great bliss of non-grasping, of goddess worship. Om Tare Tutare Ture Swaha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Swaha. Om Tare Tutare Ture swaha last one. Om Tare Tutare Ture swaha. And then a deep breath. And hopefully another will come, right? And another, and another, and another, and another, and so on. If you agree with the following statement after I say Om, mirror that Om by saying it yourself. May the merit gained in our acting thus go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Release your hands. We're going to lay down for a minute. I'm going to guide you for a minute, but you can lay on longer if you have longer to lay for. So lay yourself on your back. It's always important to do Shavasana, even if it's just for a minute. I'll guide you for a minute. We have run over. Apologies for that. I try not to do that normally, but we'll lay ourselves down. Arms not too close to the body. The hands should be off the yoga mat. Shoulder blades should be scooted under, leaving the chest buoyant. Legs not too wide apart. A lovely giving, beautiful giving. Isn't it lovely that giving is the ultimate path of yoga? Giving is the ultimate path of yoga. So you can lay on, but so that those of you that need to be more timely are more or less on time, I'll guide you out, but you can use this guidance for in a minute or in 5 minutes or now, as you like. The toes will wiggle, the ankles will wiggle, the fingers and wrists, and you might stretch the body out. Natural kind of movements. Then you'll roll to your left and lay as comfortably as you can there. This could be done now, or it could be done later when you feel ready. Then you'll roll to the right in your own time. It's nice, even the rolling's kind of nice. And without any sense of rush, we naturally come round. Little rubbing of the eyes or across the head or stretching out. And when you're ready to come up, you come up from the side. And of course you can lay on. It's lovely. So lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for coming.